Hello everyone, and welcome back to Picture Mavericks. Today we are doing something a little lighter and a lot more fun, because today we are talking about Just Go With It, released in 2011, directed by Dennis Dugan, produced by Happy Madison Productions and Columbia Pictures, and starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston in the two central roles, with Brooklyn Decker, Nick Swardson, and two absolutely scene-stealing child actors, Bailey Madison and Griffin Gluck, rounding out the main cast. The film made over $214 million worldwide and remains one of the most genuinely enjoyable romantic comedies of that entire decade. Now, here's the thing about Just Go With It that I think people miss because they're too busy laughing, which is a perfectly valid reason to miss it. This film is not really about the lie. Yes, there's a lie. Yes, the lie is spectacular in its absurdity, and yes, it spirals into one of the most entertainingly complicated situations in modern rom-com history. But the lie is not the point. The point is Danny, a man who has spent his entire adult life using a silly trick to avoid real emotional honesty, and Catherine, the woman who has been standing right next to him for years, and the question of whether Danny is going to figure out what he actually has before it is too late. That is the real film, wrapped inside a lot of Hawaiian sunshine and some genuinely brilliant comedic chaos. Let's get into it. The film opens with a flashback that tells you everything you need to know about how Danny got here. Young Danny, on the night of his wedding to a woman who clearly does not love him, discovers the truth before the ceremony. The bride is in love with someone else and only going through with the wedding for the wrong reasons. He ends up alone, in his wedding suit, at a bar, deeply miserable, and a stranger at the bar starts flirting with him, specifically because he is wearing a wedding ring, because the ring signals that someone already chose him, and people find that attractive. And Danny, heartbroken and lonely and 19 years old, files that information away. Fast forward to present day, and Danny is a successful plastic surgeon in Los Angeles, charming and funny and genuinely likable, and he is still using the wedding ring trick, wearing a fake ring to meet women, then removing it and pretending the marriage was a disaster to generate sympathy and connection. It works. It has been working for years. And Danny has been coasting on it so comfortably that he has completely stopped asking whether it is actually giving him what he wants. That is the setup. Simple, funny, and surprisingly honest about a very human tendency to find a system that works and never question it. I want to make a case for Danny as a genuinely likable character because I think he sometimes gets dismissed as just another Sandler goofball, and he is more than that. Danny is kind, not in a showy or performative way, but in the consistent small ways that actually matter. He is good to his patients, he is generous with his time, he is warm and funny, and the kind of person that other people genuinely enjoy being around. His problem is not that he is a bad person. His problem is that one painful experience when he was young taught him that real vulnerability leads to real hurt, and he built an entire lifestyle around never being that vulnerable again. The wedding ring trick is not really about getting women. It is about controlling the terms of every interaction, keeping himself at a safe emotional distance by building a fiction between himself and anyone he might actually connect with. And Adam Sandler plays this with more nuance than the film gets credit for, because Danny is never pathetic and never cruel. He is just a smart, funny man who has been running a very effective avoidance strategy for 20 years and has not yet noticed what it has cost him. Now let us talk about Catherine, played by Jennifer Aniston, because she is the best thing in this movie and I will not hear otherwise. Catherine is Danny's office manager. She has worked with him for years. She is a single mother to two wonderfully chaotic children. She is sharp and funny and completely unimpressed by Danny's charm in the way that only someone who has known you for a long time can be unimpressed by your charm. She is also, and the film establishes this very clearly and very early, exactly the kind of person Danny should be with. She sees through him completely. She matches him in every conversation. She is comfortable enough around him to be completely herself. And there's an ease between them that the film shows you before either of them has noticed it. Jennifer Aniston is doing something really lovely in this role. She's playing a woman who is genuinely content with her life, not pining, not waiting, not defined by her romantic situation, just living and raising her kids and doing her job and being herself. And that quality, that groundedness, is exactly what makes her so compelling to watch and exactly what Danny is going to need to actually reach before the film is over. Palmer, played by Brooklyn Decker, is the complication that kicks the whole plot into gear, and I want to give her credit because she's playing a role that could easily have been a stereotype, and she brings genuine warmth to it. Danny meets Palmer on the beach. They connect, things go well, and then Palmer finds the fake wedding ring in Danny's pocket, and the entire situation derails instantly. Danny panics and invents a story about a soon-to-be ex-wife, and Palmer, who is sincere and trusting and genuinely likes Danny, takes it at face value and says she wants to meet this woman before things go any further. And Danny, instead of doing the sensible thing and telling the truth, does what the movie is called, he just goes with it, and he asks Catherine to pretend to be his ex-wife for one dinner. One dinner. Simple. Contained. Absolutely no way this gets complicated. And then it gets immediately and spectacularly complicated, because that is how these things always go, and the film knows it, and it commits to the escalating absurdity with complete cheerful energy. Catherine agrees to help, partly because Danny is her friend, and partly because the situation is so ridiculous that refusing feels almost unkind, and everything goes fine right up until her children, Maggie and Michael, arrive unexpectedly and immediately and enthusiastically insert themselves into the fiction. Maggie, who is the older one and clearly the more strategically minded, decides that if there is a fake divorce happening, she wants to be in Hawaii for it, and she leverages this information with the calm confidence of someone who has been watching adults make avoidable mistakes her whole life. And Danny, cornered, agrees to take everyone to Hawaii. This is the moment the film shifts from a two-person comedy into an ensemble piece, and it is the right shift at exactly the right time, because the addition of the kids changes the dynamic completely. Catherine is now not just Danny's fake ex-wife. She is a mother being watched by her children who believe this is a real trip with their mother's real ex-husband. And that layer of genuine family feeling starts to bleed into everything, even though it started as pure fiction. The lie has now accidentally created something that feels, in certain moments, surprisingly real. I want to give Maggie and Michael their own section because they deserve it. These two children are doing more narrative work than most supporting characters get credit for, and they are doing it while being genuinely hilarious. Maggie, played by Bailey Madison, is essentially running a parallel operation throughout the entire film. She has assessed the situation with remarkable accuracy for her age. She has identified that Danny and her mother have something real between them, and she is using every tool available to her to move things in that direction while maintaining plausible deniability. Her fake British accent, which she adopts and defends with extraordinary commitment for no apparent reason, is one of the funniest running gags in the film, and the way she deploys it strategically in moments of high tension is a genuine comedic performance. Michael, played by Griffin Gluck, is operating on a different frequency entirely. He is simply delighted by everything, by Danny, by Hawaii, by the general chaos of the situation, and his uncomplicated enthusiasm is the warmest thing in the film. Together, they function as the film's conscience, because children in these situations always see more clearly than the adults do, and what they see is two people who belong together trying very hard not to notice it. The shift in how Danny sees Catherine is one of the things the film handles best, because it does not happen in a single dramatic moment. It happens gradually, in small scenes that accumulate until the weight of them is undeniable. There is a scene where Danny watches Catherine with the kids, just a small, ordinary moment of her being their mother, patient and funny and completely herself, and something in Danny's expression changes very slightly. Not a revelation, not a thunderbolt, just a quiet noticing. There is the way they argue, easily and without real heat, in the way of people who know each other well enough to disagree without it meaning anything threatening. There is the way she makes him laugh, genuinely, not the performed laugh he gives people he is trying to charm, but the real one that catches him off guard. And there is the way she looks at him sometimes. Catherine, who is not trying to impress Danny and not playing any game, just being honest in the way she is always honest. And Danny is starting to realize that honesty is actually the thing he has been missing this whole time. He is not falling for Catherine because the plot requires it. He is falling for her because she is exactly what he needs, and he is finally paying enough attention to notice. The lie has to come apart. And when it does, it comes apart in the way that lies always come apart. Not cleanly or conveniently, but at the worst possible moment and in front of everyone involved. Palmer finds out the truth, that Catherine is not Danny's ex-wife, that the divorce was invented, that the whole story was constructed to manage a situation that Danny created by not being honest in the first place. And here is what is interesting about this moment. Palmer is not devastated in the way a villain's defeat feels. She is just disappointed, because she is a genuinely good person who trusted Danny and found out that the version of himself he presented to her was not entirely real. But the more important fallout is with Catherine, because Catherine agreed to help Danny, and in doing so put herself and her children into a situation that turned out to be more emotionally complicated than any of them anticipated, and she deserves better than to be a supporting character in someone else's avoidance story. The lie unraveling is not the end of the film. It is the moment that clears the air completely and forces Danny to finally, for the first time in the whole story, be honest about what he actually wants. The ending of Just Go With It is exactly what it should be, warm and funny and completely satisfying, and it earns every moment of it. Danny goes after Catherine, not with a grand speech or an airport chase, but with genuine honesty, telling her directly and without the armor of a joke or a deflection that she is the person he wants, that what happened in Hawaii, the ease and the laughter and the feeling of being completely himself, that was real, and it was real because she was there. And Catherine, who is not a pushover and who has her own very valid reasons to be cautious about this, takes a moment, because she is Catherine and she is not going to just fall into anything without thinking it through, and then she says yes. The final scenes of the film are genuinely joyful, Danny and Catherine and the kids together as something real rather than something performed, and the contrast with the fake family dynamic of the Hawaii trip is the point, because everything looks almost the same from the outside, but everything feels completely different from the inside, because this time nobody is pretending. The film ends on exactly the right note, happy without being silly about it, earned without being heavy about it. So let us bring it all together. Just Go With It is a film about one very simple and very human idea, which is that the defenses we build to protect ourselves from getting hurt are often the exact same things that prevent us from getting what we actually want. Danny's wedding ring trick kept him safe for 20 years. It also kept him lonely for 20 years, moving from one comfortable fiction to the next, never quite close enough to anyone for it to matter, never quite honest enough to find out if something real was possible. And what the film is saying, gently and with a lot of laughs along the way, is that the right person was there the whole time, not waiting for him, not pining, just living her life and being herself and showing up every day, and all Danny had to do was be honest enough to see her clearly. Now I want to be straight with you about this film because I genuinely like it. Just Go With It is not a perfect movie. Some of the subplots run a little long and not every joke lands the way it wants to. But the central relationship between Danny and Catherine is genuinely charming. Jennifer Aniston is wonderful in a way that the film's reputation does not fully reflect, and the whole thing is put together with a warmth and a lightness that makes it enormously easy to watch. My favorite character? Catherine, without any hesitation. She is funny and grounded and real in a way that makes everything around her work better. And Jennifer Aniston plays her with a naturalness that looks effortless and absolutely is not. Is Just Go With It a great film in the way that some of our previous videos have covered great films? No, and it is not trying to be. What it is trying to be is a warm, funny, genuinely enjoyable romantic comedy that leaves you feeling good, and it succeeds at that completely. Sometimes that is exactly what a film should be. Most people watched Just Go With It and had a great time and moved on. Now you know what was working underneath all the fun to make that great time possible. Thank you for watching Picture Mavericks. And if this breakdown gave you something new to think about, consider subscribing because we go deeper so you do not have to. See you in the next one.